Hi, I'm Daz. Now it's the turn of the Acoustical FM tuner, or the quad tuner, whatever you want to refer it to, but it's the quad. I think mine's quite an early one. Its serial number's around the 1100, so I'm guessing is it about 1960, perhaps like late 50s. I'm not 100% certain, but anyway, it's an FM tuner with 7 valves, or tubes if you want to call them that. It has a pair of neon indicators to aid tuning. It was made to go with the quad system, which is why it's got a pair of plugs. I'm guessing it's the quad 2 preamp it goes with, but perhaps someone who knows a lot more than me could say. It seems to require 6.3 and approximately 330 volts HT. Heat current's about 2 amps and the HT current about 27 milliamps. Interesting, I was trying to figure out where the HT negative was. Apparently it's the phono lead that's HT negative. Pull that out and you get a shocking experience, wouldn't you? Anyway, I'll get it apart and we'll have a look at it and see if we can get this classic tuner working again. Okay, so I've just drawn out a little block diagram. We've got a broadband RF amp at the front. We have permeability tuned RF stage. We've got an ECC81 used as local oscillator in a mixer. Never seen it used for that. We've got 3 IF stages and the last one is a limiting stage. We've got the discriminator, we've got a valve rectifier. I'm sure they're more linear, so I think that's a good thing. We've got an ECC83 used for tuning indicators, those are the 2 neons. Then it just goes through the de-emphasis and that's your audio out. So yeah, just say what the limiter does is it chops the top and bottom off of the incoming signal. And that helps get rid of any AM impulse noise. So that's what a limiter does in this case. This local oscillator and mix and RF amp, they are permeability tuned, but I'll show that in a minute. So yeah, just hope that would be some help just to see what's actually inside it. So it's pretty conventional, but you've got the addition of an RF preamp, and also you've got 3 stages of IF, and that's a lot better than a lot of the domestic radios were with FM. They only seem to have 2 IFs and certainly not an RF amp in them either. So, you know, that's what I think, in my opinion, marks this as a hi-fi tuner, because it's simply got more gain. Okay then, so here it is with the cover off. So we can see our 3 IF valves at the bottom and the 4 IF cans. This valve with the shield on is the detector diodes, or as a pair obviously. This one is the valve that's used for the tuning indicator. That's the RF preamp valve and the input transformer from the aerial socket. And down here is the local oscillator and mixer valve. Of course, being a ECC81, it's a dual triode, as is this one. So they're all quite familiar valves and should be easy to get hold of. So the tuning cord is quite interesting, but I think it'd probably be best if I zoom in a bit to show you what's going on there. I've brought in an extra light so we can see what's going on in here. The tuning cord is wrapped round twice, so as I do it up and undo it, you can see it's moving from one shaft to the other. So also that means that the spring, which is now coming into view, is sort of halfway on the string, which is interesting. So what's happening is, I think if I lift it slightly it might be easy to see, there's like a screw thread device there, and you can see this bar going up and down, and if you look carefully there's a probably some sort of ferrite material, and you can see it moving in and out as I screw this up and down. So that's what's called permeability tuning. Now if I just flip the angle slightly, I wonder if we can see it. I think the lighting is not good enough. Let's just move that around. there we go. You can see, and try not to get the light in the shot, you can see there's a second little bit of ferrite there that's screwing in and out. So one is the RF tuning and the other one is for the local oscillator. So hopefully that just explains permeability tuning. I'll tell you what, you don't really see permeability tuning a lot. It seemed to be on early FM tuners, and the only other thing I've really seen it in is car radios. You know, the type with the push button, long and medium wave perhaps, and you push the button in and to select your station. And I'm assuming permeability tuning was used in car radios because it was more robust to the movements of a car and vibration, etc. So there we go. So just looking at the other side of the tuner, here's the two neon indicators mounted here. You can see the IF cans and the IF valves much more clearly now. There's the local oscillator and mixer valve, and of course you can see this plaxon bit with the permeability bits on. These nuts are what you use to adjust the inductance, how much inductance you got, so for alignment purposes. Well, here we go. Let's have a look under the chassis, and lots of Hunt's capacitors, oh goody, and quite a few cracked ones as well, oh dear. So going to need a bit of a recap there, I guess. Here's the two coils where you see those ferrites being loaded in, ferrites, it's better, being lowered into these two here. And there's the back of the bit that screws in and out. There's your aerial input, so that is L1, the input matching for the aerial. They're quite buried in here, so yeah, we'll have a bit of fun investigating them, but you can see they're all cracked. It's not so good at all. And some of these carbon composite resistors, I no doubt they may have shifted as well. That's an interesting looking capacitor there on the what's that, discriminator rectifier. So there's a close-up of the RF front end. You can see a couple of chokes there on the filament. If I just move it along for you so you can have a really nice close look at the IF and discriminator side. There we go. But you can definitely see that these capacitors, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit more. There we go. Whoops, went a little too far there, didn't I? Yeah, you can see how nicely cracked they are. That's not good. So I'm going to have to do a bit of digging to find some components, but it is very, very nicely made, this. It's very, very neat. I like it. Very, very nice thing. Because my model is an early one, unfortunately I don't have the right circuit diagram for it. So the first problem I encountered was I didn't seem to have continuity on IFT3. Now it's only got a single adjustment, so according to the diagram I have got, it's a tapped inductor, but I wonder if there was a capacitor inside it, and I have in fact injected 10.7 via a 5K6 resistor, and I can actually peak it, so I'll continue. But well, I've done some of the capacitors, and quite a few of the resistors have needed changing as well. So I'm just sitting here going through it and watching Radio Cruncher at the same time, doing a live feed, just to keep me company while I do this. But I'm not looking forward to this part. This is definitely going to be a bit of a problem. You can take this side bit off, but it's going to mean taking a lot of the mechanism and tuning gauge apart, and I don't really want to do that if I can help it. So yeah, we'll just keep going through it. Some of these resistors have been ridiculously out of tolerance, so they've got changed. I was definitely going to do the ones around the discriminator, but okay, I've finished recapping and resistoring where necessary. Hopefully I've got it right. I found two mistakes and I've corrected them. So now I think I'm ready to think about powering up. Let's see I'm just setting up ready to power the unit up now. The filaments seem to be lit up, so that's good. So I'm just going to bring some HT in. The meter has moved slightly. Have a little bit more. We've got neon lit up. That's something. No audio as yet. A little bit more. Nope, no audio as yet. Current doesn't look too far out. Nope, still no audio as yet. Right, all the way up to 250, which is the minimum. I've got two neons, but no audio as yet. Okay, I'll investigate the connections. I suspect an aerial would help. I can't hear much hiss, but well, there we go. We are getting some reception as such. So that's a good start. Well, at least we can hear something, so that's good news. Well, I'm all set up to do my first test, which appears to be looking at a grid voltage with the meter and feeding in 10.7 into the grid of V4, which is this one. So I'm going to have a go at that, and I've got to tweak up 3, which only appears to have one core in it. Yep, that was a long way out. Interestingly, with setting the discriminator on this one, what it calls for is to zero it, which is what I'm now doing. And then what I've got to do is adjust the top one so that the swings, as I adjust the frequency either side of the 10.7, produce an equal voltage either way. So in other words, forming an S-curve. So that's going to take me a little while to keep juddering these two back and forth, but I need to let it warm up a little bit more, I think, before setting this, because it's still moving a little bit. So if it's on 10.7 at the moment. If I swing it up to 10.8, it's minus 0.9. Go to 10.6, it's plus 0.91. So that's pretty symmetrical, I guess. Well, I'm back on test point B, which is the grids again. Now I've got to tune up IFT2. I've got a little bit of modulation on, just so I've got a sort of bit of audio just to hear as I peak things up. I had to get quite a long tool to fit these. By the way, I forgot to say I had to unscrew the cores right out first before I started. Apparently the peak is the first one in. I seem to be turning this one and nothing seems to be happening. It's bizarre. Oh, I don't know, something is now. Not a lot. Anyway, I suppose it's just going to be the same old story of just working my way back and just peaking everything. It's interesting to do the discriminator first. I find that a bit interesting, really. I always thought you did that last. Oh, well, the sensitivity's coming up nicely. We're getting a nice bit of grid voltage there. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to turn the signal generator back, I believe. That looks far too much. Interesting thing now is I'm having to use a dampening resistor. 470 ohms. So put it on the primary, adjust the secondary, which is the bottom, then put it on the secondary and adjust the primary, which is up there. So yeah, that's interesting. I don't know why that's included, but I do remember using a interesting, yeah, that has changed the peak. I remember using something like this with my Bush VHF 81 I've got. so it won't be the first time I've used a dampening resistor, I guess. Well, this injection point is interesting. It's right against the, it's right on the RF coil where it goes into the grid of valve 2, which is the mixer oscillator, and I'm sticking one hell of a lot of signal through it. I'm beginning to wonder if some of this is just stray couple, but in between I had a listen and there's a nice bit of FM hiss now, so things sound better. But it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to now do IFT1 with the shunt resistor, or whatever you want to call it, damping resistor, that's the word I was looking for. Anyway, I'm just going to get on with this, but it's good to hear FM hiss. That's a good sign that sensitivity's coming up. Well, what I'm doing now is trying to trim the two inductors that go in, the permeability tuning, so I'm just trying to set it up, and it is very fiddly, but hey look, the neons are working now, aren't they? So just get them the same brightness. Slightly difficult. This is 90 megs I'm setting up at, and apparently to set 106 you've got to bend a capacitor away from an inductor. That sounds fun. And the aerial input coil is trimmed at 98 megs, so I'll just get all that done, I think. Well, the tuning isn't too far out. That nice FM hiss, white noise, nice and relaxing. It's picking up with the signal generator attached to it quite well, and Tacklestone's like 40 miles away, so I'm quite impressed actually. It is very sensitive, so I think we've got a few more repairs to do to the front panel, etc. This threaded screw was quite interesting to clean. Took a lot of effort to get all the old grease off, but it's done now. Right, well, I'm almost back together. I've put a new bit of green felt on the tuning scale and put the little markers back in. I think I'm just about done really. I'm just going to case it up and see how it performs. Well, I think it's a nice tuner actually. It picks up plenty of stations. I've got it connected to my external aerial, and the tuning lights seem to work okay and show when you're balanced on tuning, so it's yeah, very nice tuner, I've got to admit. Very nice. I think it's late 50s, this tuner. Well, there we go. There's the Acoustical FM1 tuner from around about the late 50s, I believe. Let's play some music through it from the YouTube library using an FM transmitter. Well, I must admit it'd be nice if I had a preamp and amplifier to go with it, but I don't think my pockets are deep enough, but you never know, might come across one sometime. Thanks to Simon Spires for suggesting doing this one next, so that's my number 2. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon.